Hey, Pastor David Amston here. If you're watching this video or if you're listening to me online, I have a little bit of bad news for you. You're not going to feel the full weight of what we did here on the Sunday morning. The At the Movie series is something that we can broadcast live, and it's also something that we can do live here at the auditorium, but we can't post-produce it for you to watch due to the fact of copyright laws, because we're watching movies this year. For instance, this past Sunday, it was Avengers Infinity Wars. And I'm pretty sure Marvel wants to keep their rights as close as they can to them. But here's what I can do for you. I can take a few minutes to tell you what we covered. And hopefully the big thought that we shared with everybody on this weekend, you're able to take a little bit of nugget from it. Joshua is a guy that we talked about out of actually his own book, Joshua. He was the man who came after Moses. If his name sounds familiar to you, that's why. He was actually a part of the earth's mightiest army. Now, the reason we watched Avengers is apparently they're the world's strongest or mightiest heroes. And so kind of the parallel that we were seeing there is there are just some times that people have to take the fight to the wrong, to the evil, to the villains in order to bring victory so the right people or the healthy people can be okay. So we were looking at Joshua, and we find out in Joshua chapter 6, 7, and 8, we're in that area. Joshua just finished this awesome battle at a place named Jericho. You might have heard of this one. It was an amazing victory because really they did nothing. I would love to brag on Joshua, but they kept their mouth closed and they walked around a building or the city walls, and in walking around the city walls, God ended up pushing those walls down. All they had to do was go in and kind of clean up. But there was one big caveat that they needed to understand. They weren't supposed to take anything. This battle was going to be all about God. This was his victory, so he was going to get the stuff, would be the way to say it. Well, Joshua and his army, Joshua and his team end up going to the next battle scene. And as they get there, some scouts come back and go, "Hey, Joshua, you don't need the whole army for this, man. We just give us about 3,000 people. We'll go take care of this nation. We'll be back in a couple minutes." Like, no big deal. So about 3,000 men went out to fight this battle. Upon going out to this battle, they got beat. They got beat really bad. Actually, there was a handful of men that died, and it says that as a nation, their hearts melted before God. And why? Because, well, they thought they were these big, bad, rough and tough people. And in order to bring victory to the nation, they just had to go do that thing that they do. And this was one question we asked this past Sunday, and maybe it'll resonate inside of your soul. Have you ever done the right thing for the right reason but had the wrong outcome? I'll say it again. In your life, as you move forward, either with a job or with a relationship or with schooling or something like that, have you ever done it for the right reason? And it was the right thing to do in that moment, in that time, in that space. But somehow, even though it was the right thing at the right time, the wrong outcome came about. And that was a painful thing for Joshua to experience. And I'm sure if you're anything like me, it was a painful thing for you to experience. But what we read one scripture is out of 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 12 through 13. And it says, "My dear friends, do not be surprised." So, hey, guys, when you do the right thing for the right reason and it ends up being wrong, don't be surprised. Why? Don't be surprised at the fiery ordeals that has come on you to test you. What if I tell you there's times in life that maybe the wrong things happen just to be a test for you? Now, I'm not saying God's up there manipulating the world in order for everything to go wrong for you, but I think you can agree with me. Sometimes things go wrong, and God had nothing to do with it. We sabotaged ourselves. Someone else did something they shouldn't do, or the unknown happened. So let's not blame all this on God, but one thing that God is saying is, hey, don't be surprised when things happen. And by the way, in those places, it can be a place of testing. And don't think it be strange because it's only happening to you. It happens to everybody. But why don't we do this? Let's rejoice inasmuch as we participate in the sufferings of Christ so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. So on the backside of our pain, on the backside of our troubles, on the backside of our trials and testings, guess what? People can look at you and go, "Wow, how did you get through this so well?" Well, you can be overjoyed by saying, "Hey, in this tough place, I was tested, and in my testing, I was able to show how tough God was." This is exactly what Joshua is dealing with as he went to this city. He comes back all defeated. They tore their clothes. They lay face down on the ground. They were throwing a pity party for themselves, and it's great. This is great. God actually, and these are my words, he goes, what are you doing, and why are you doing it that way? Like, God's going, why don't you ask me what happened? And so Joshua's like, what's going on? And someone stole. Actually, it was a guy named Achan decided that he and his family would be better off if they took gold and silver from Jericho, which they were not supposed to. And one guy, one family, thought it'd be better for himself to do what he wanted for his family to better him than to care about the whole nation around him. And so you end up finding out that the nation around him suffered because of one man's decision. So back to the original question, have you ever done the right thing at the right time and had the wrong outcome? Is there a chance your wrong outcome came at the expense of you because of someone else? I mean, let's give some examples here. You go to work and you're doing, it's right. You're going to work. You're doing your job faithfully, so you're doing the right thing for the right reason. But then someone decides to undercut you. Someone lies about you. The little gossip rumor mill takes off. The boss judges you. You get a bad eval. You don't get the raise that you were supposed to. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a test to me. But the reality, it most likely happened at the hands of someone else. Have you been a part of a church that pastor lied and he started embezzling money, but you were faithful. You did the right thing at the right reason. You were giving your money. You were investing in the church. You love seeing lives transformed, but somehow during that process of giving, someone else was taking and it hurt you. And so I would say this, that in all these places that you are struggling with, you have to find God's grace for the process that you're going through. And despite the fact that Achan, eventually Joshua pulled him together, disciplined him. When I say discipline, he died. So Joshua repented of that, prayed to God to forgive the nation, and eventually, during that testing period, Joshua, the army, and eventually God gets glory because the victory was theirs. So in the testing period, do you end up cursing that guy? Do you end up reacting negatively to that boss? Do you slander and attack your very own spouse? Or do you say, God, during this testing time, I want you to get the glory. So I'm not going to be surprised I'm going through it. But in this going through it, I want to make sure that I pass this test with flying colors. And in order to do that, A, you have to pray for the graces of God. But B, I'd say to you this, you have to find forgiveness for those who wounded you. So can I just pray for those of you that did the right thing for the right reason, but a wrong outcome came at the expense of because of someone else? I pray right now, and if you would, just let me pray this over you. I pray you find forgiveness in your heart to release them from their actions. In order for you to become who you're supposed to be, you can't be held back to what they did to you. And I pray that in this place you find freedom, that you do not stop doing the right thing for the right reason just because of a bad outcome. But you say, in that wrong outcome, God, test me in this place. Make me who I'm supposed to be, that when I come to the other side, that not only am I glorified, but God, you get the glory through it. I just pray right now that God gives you strength to do that. I appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed this, I encourage you to share it on Facebook, social media, like it, comment, interact with us. And I pray this short little nugget of At the Movies campaign that we're a part of right now, specifically Avengers Infinity War. I pray this little nugget that I shared with you, you took something away from it and that your life would be better. If you ever need anything from Navigation Church, don't hesitate to reach out to us online. Again, through the website, navchurch.org, or any of our social media platforms. And we look forward to one day meeting you face to face.